Okay, I'll be playing 2 tables of 25 NL. It wants to open my second table here. For review, I'll still be labeling fish here. Standard call A6. Board he shouldn't c-bet willy-nilly, given he only c-bets that amount. Usually means he won't. On this turn, we probably can turn this into a bluff, but we might not need to. Ace high might be good. We do have a gut shot, and I think that gut shot is a bit too weak to be bluffing here. We're just going to be check folding this. We're still going to play against this sizing. I might need to call, but I'm not happy with it. Although I think this is just too weak. When we get a raise from the fish, I think we do have to call threes, 4.5. We do get 1 to 10. He might stack off, so against this flop bet against this bet on this flop with backdoors, we have to call. Pretty good card for our range. He should definitely be checking, and given my exact hand, I'm going to be checking back. Pretty good card for him. Dunk here, I'm definitely going to call, and I'm going to fold on the queen here. When it king pairs, it's an easy call again. Ace on the river is a bit annoying, but I guess we have to check. He might have worse pairs, 7x, or an open-ender, yeah. There's no value there in betting on the river. Those are my assumptions, by the way. If read this, I'm just going to call this against the tricks. I will be check raising this. We do have a bunch of bluffs, and I think this hand is pretty good to be check raising. We do want to be a bit more polarized, so we're going to go big. When we do get called, we have a decent hand. We don't want to just call and then, he's going to check and blah, 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 and realize all his equity. We're still playing 3-bet or fold, so when he opens, or when this guy opens, I'm going to 3-bet these hands. And I actually should increase my open sizes on the bottom, in theory, but I think people are just under defending so hard. This against somewhat of a regular, I think, although he doesn't hesitate that often. But I mean, ace-9 is just too good for me to fold here. And we do flop an ace. He should see better very often. When he doesn't, I think we can check this back. This type of board, our eights just want to bet. Not always, but like very often. When he checks a second time, I think I can go for some protection. Backdoor hearts did miss. He might call us with, some worse hands. Here, eights, just a check now. When there's a second queen, we can definitely call a bet. When he checks twice here, I think we can go for another bet, and here we have to call. He does have the 10, and here we got called. And we got called by worse 5. By worse ace, so yeah. Nice team value there. The sizing does matter, because then he has to do it with those hands. Here against the face, I'm just going to 4-bet, get it in. We're in position, so we might as well do it small, so 20.1 or something. I don't think he realizes a lot of these things. If it just jams, I'm just going to call, but yeah. Fish will be fish. But, where was this? The ace-5 hand, right? Check deuce is an easy fold. Yeah, I mean, flop check back should be somewhat standard, I think, although we can bet with this, depending on how often we actually want to be betting. And then turn, I mean, it doesn't really change much. If we were ahead, we were ahead, so we're still going to do this. I find this a weird lead. Like, ranges are already so tight, yeah. He can get away with it. And then on the river, like our sizing, I think this is fine. Well played. I have this guy tagged as reg just because I have a lot of hands on him. He does have 8% 3-bets, which, is somewhat reg-ish, I guess. 3 deuce, I'm just going to fold, obviously. Queen 10, we're going to open or fold. When we do face an open. King 7, we have a fish in the big blinds. I might have opened this, although this guy seems to be a bit more aggressive. with 3 bets, so maybe I wouldn't have, because that guy does have position on me. 9-7 versus Limper. Here against the guy that's somewhat aggressive, like currently, like his 3-bet range is, you know, a bunch of heavy stuff. I'm gonna call this against 2 fish. I'm just gonna call this. I could have raised, but I'm just gonna call. If he bets, I will raise this. And depending on his size, obviously, if he's a bit small. If he goes for that size, I think I just have a call. Here we have a gut shot and a backdoors. We're definitely gonna call. We get more backdoors now, depending his stack size. So what do we have? We have 1 out of 5. We have 12. Yeah, sure. And we do get there. So here I'm gonna fold this. I don't think he's bluffing enough, and I am gonna call this off. Maybe I should have raised this, but I mean, this guy calling already. He called with a king. Wow, that's a hero call. He does have a spade there. I'm not a fan of his bet on the turn, but I guess it makes sense. Here we want to bet small. We do have backdoors. When this happens, I am gonna continue because we do block a bunch of hands, like decent kings. And now on the 9, I can definitely check back. When he dunks into me like this doesn't really make sense. This is so value heavy. There's like no draws whatsoever, right? I do hit my 9, but why would I ever bluff catch here? Like, I have a bunch of king X. I do have a decent blocker hand here, but I think this is so irrelevant for me to be, you know, bluff catching with, that I'm just not gonna. I mean, it's a fun hand to have, but here we are gonna 3-bet this. Given he opened big, I'm gonna 3-bet bigger. Six, 8. When did we start actually? I'm not sure how long I'm gonna go with this. I do want a decent sample though, but I don't want to bore all you guys, you know, with too long of a session. Here, I mean, again, these sizings, we can just size up then. He is already short, so whatever. I think I just want to bet big and jam turn against the fish. I don't think there's any point in going with a small bet size, etc. Or we're gonna be checking a bunch out of position, and I'm just gonna bet it. But it is a hand I might wanna check. So it's these aces. God damn it! Now it's right. So it's these aces review, and I'm back. This cold call is super weird. I will open this with a fish in the big blind. Doesn't really make much sense. Usually it's like these pocket pairs, weak stuff. For me, this isn't gonna be something I'm gonna see bet on. No backdoors, pretty bad. I'm just gonna give this up. I don't think they're gonna fold. It's really hard for me to, you know, bluff here. I do have to bluff though, but doesn't make much sense for me to bluff now. It doesn't. They're gonna go with a pocket. King queen. Wow, what a moron. I should have bluffed. Huh? King 6. Sure thing, bros. Guess I should have bluffed. My bad. Yeah, sometimes you just have to have the balls to bluff him. And I didn't. A6 is going to be a standard open against a 3x on a gun. It's in the default. King 4, Queen 9. 9-6 in big blind we might play depending on who opens and how much. 10s against this guy. So far I've been playing way too wide, but I have no clue how he defends. So I'm just gonna play this standard and go for a call against under the gun. When he checks to me, I'm just gonna start applying pressure. When this guy 3-bets, I'm just gonna go out of the way with tens. Given that his stats so far are pretty low, I don't really like, turning it into 4-bet and then isolating ourselves, and we don't really want to call and then be out of position against two people. Like tens are really an annoying spot there. Plus, he 3-bet under gun range at these lower stakes, which generally tends to be pretty strong and not something I want to be attacking. So this guy has been 3-betting a lot himself, which means that he will perceive my 3-bet as pretty loose, which means that I'm actually going to tighten up my 3-bet. Here, my fours do want to bet. It's pretty hard for him to continue. Fours, he's going to have a lot of random overcards. I can't stand pressure, so I'm just going to bet. 5-9 against the min raise. Juicy. We do flop a pair. And I'm going to check this down and hope to get there. And if he bets river, I'm out of there. Yeah, he has a jack. That's fine. Maybe it's a bit loose, but I still think 5-9 might be good enough. It's suited. It's not that bad. This guy seems to be a regular. So if I would bet here, he's probably going to be applying some pressure, but we'll see. Nope, he folds. I think this guy is a tight guy. Also, previously, when he overbet, he just had it. I don't think, he's playing solid. He's just making hands and then getting there. I also think he plays regular tables more often than he actually plays Zoom, given that I have so many hands on him, which generally means, they are a bit used to playing tighter and just making hand and getting there. Jacks definitely opening, especially with a fish in the blinds. On this board we could bet, but there's not really much value in doing so we're just going to check. We do make the second nuts. We are going to check here. Here we are going to bet. I mean, second nuts is second nuts. Well, we basically have the third nuts because we're a straight flush, but there's no way. We're just going to fold this. There's no point in continuing this. I think I'll go for 200 hands or something. I'm not sure if you actually saw an interesting spot. Maybe the aces one. I'll look into that at the end of this video. So if you just want to see the session, you can enter. Queen 7 deuce, we can definitely see bet range. The question is, do we want the check back range? I think we do. So I'm going to check this back, especially against the fish. Here we're going to check call this. We are going to start betting with a queen now. We're still going to check all this. Now with an ace, if he donks, I have to call, but he obviously hasn't. Oh, he has a queen. Wow, weird. And then on deuce, I have to call. It's very unlikely he has a flush. We do block some draws. I think we have to call if he goes small. Yeah. Yeah, we have to call. Like, there's so many bluffs you can still have, right? The deuce doesn't really do anything. Here I'm gonna 3-bet. It would be pretty weird for him to bet a deuce on the turn. Though I'm not surprised. Like, these people just stab so often. Like, what did he even have? Jack 10. Surprised he doesn't bet the flop. When we get 4-bet here, for this size, it's interesting. Like, we are deeper, so I think I'm gonna call. And I'm gonna fold this flop. Like, we're 150 big blinds deep, so I might as well call with a speculative hand. Jack X generally is better for me, but their 4-bet range is just too strong. It's pretty ridiculous how nutted it is. We can squeeze here. I think I am. Queens, pretty standard 3-bets. His fold to 3-bet under the gun is pretty low. So this guy calls my squeeze. Pretty bad flop for me. I'm just gonna check, or start out with a check. On an 8, it doesn't really improve me. The fact that he checks is pretty weird. I block Jack, so maybe I'm just gonna check and then take a turn. When he overbets there, it's easy fold. Like, Jesus. Fives. If this guy, how often does he 4-bet? 20%, and I'm just gonna get it in. Or do we just call and see a flop? Let's just call and see a flop. Pretty bad flop again. He can definitely have ace king, he can definitely have aces, he can definitely have kings. So can we, but ace king now beats us. It's very hard for us to find a bluff in this range. Here, fives are still checking. We do make a flush. We do have to call at least once. I think I'm gonna call against the fish. No, he has it. He should check here rather often, to be honest. Well, he can overbet like this. It's pretty hard for me to call. I can definitely have kings. I can definitely have aces. I can have ace king. I do block a bunch of his bluffs, so I'm gonna fold this. It does make sense from his end. So here we have a passive fish. The reason I flat queens there, and I am gonna flat aces and so on as well, is because the guy has been... he's gonna dunk? No. Because the guy has been 4-betting so often, he's gonna have a wide range. I want to keep those bluffs in. And because of that, I also want to flat like some of my stronger hands to protect that wide flatting range. When we do make it here, I think I am... Am I gonna get called by worse? I'm the pre-flop aggressor. No, I'm not. King 5, pretty easy fold. A6 will be a 3-bet against these two. If they just fold, it's an easy win for me. And this guy is a fish passive, like he doesn't really have 3-bets. I have no clue about this guy. I think A6 is just a bit too low. Again, a weird dunk from a fishy player. Yeah, this sizing does make my imposition is a bit big. I think a suited ace I just have to call. Although A6, is pretty low. Sizing makes sense. I do have some backdoors. I block like his stronger hands. Given that, well, it's just one hand. What was it? It was 8. Yeah, okay, let's just hold this. We hit our 7, so we have to call. Third diamond is, we do have diamond X, but I'm gonna fold this here. Jack 10 is a fold. Jack 10 off at least. And what's my note on this guy? Opens 5x, limp raise. I always see this guy with a big stack, but my note on him, like, look at his stats. Like, how does this guy always have a big stack? Here we do want to bet big because there's a lot of overcards out there, and generally you do want to bet bigger when you're betting there. It's something I actually learned recently. Queen 10, we are gonna call. I do think we can create a dunking range here, but against the fish, I don't think it really makes much sense. If I had a diamond, I could definitely check raise. His sizing seems fine. Without a diamond, I'm not gonna continue. Like, I'm blocking his backdoors, and I don't have backdoor diamonds myself, or like any backdoors outside of a straight on a pair board, so not really that great. Against a small blind, I'm just gonna exploit small bets. How does he react to 3-bets? We have no clue. 3 seems a bit too low. We can 3-bet it though, it's a mix, but I generally don't like doing it. Despite, having a 3-bet or fold strategy, my small blind versus button is still a bit on the weaker end, so I try to play on the safer side. Queen 10 we're not gonna open. Nice, we're definitely gonna 3-bet, especially against this guy who seems to be a bit wider. Yeah, let's go for 3-bet. If we get 4-bet, we have to fold this hand. I understand that usually this is just a call. Even against 3x, I think we get flatted too often. I think we can go bigger here and see what happens. I think consensus is that, you know, you want to bet small, but I do think we want to bet big. Here we can actually go for an overbet, I think, but given, you know, our stack size is a bit weird, but I don't really want to check on this board. I also don't want to go small. I'm gonna go big and then just see a river. We do block his 8x. I don't really have that much 8x, so this is a 3-bet pot that I'm for some reason. I mean, this usually happens when I'm a bit distracted by another flop. So what happened there? I called. Yeah, that seems fine. It's a big sizing though. It's 4 and X, and it's against the nitty guy. Yeah, I should have folded. Too much autopilot. Here I am gonna call, hope to set mine. Then I am gonna check call this flop. This kind of board against the big blinds. In general, this board hits the big blind better, but given that, pretty good card. Given that we have an early position open, he should have less of these than normal. Still calling with 5s. Yep. And he had 4s. Surprising. I figured he was just bluffing, but apparently he had some showdown. It does make sense maybe to bet 4s there twice, but it doesn't seem that great, to be honest. Someone texted me. Well, almost 200 hands. Oh, she made it in time. The girlfriend left for work right before I started recording this, but she was on the later end, which is why she just texted me that she arrived on time. Definitely calling 10s. This is a limping fish. I think I am gonna check raises. I am gonna start betting this for like half pots. We are gonna fold against limper. Unlike when he checks back and then the turn is basically a do nothing card. Okay, he has king queen, he has ace queen, whatever. This guy again, like this is what I mean, right? He does this all the time. Opens 5x, he limp raises, and somehow he has a stack. all the time when I see him. I can't 3-bet this. We could call and play in position, hope this fish jumps in. So normally I 3-bet or fold, but given that this fish is gonna be calling, I have position, I have decent hands, I do want to play this. We do have overcards and we face a check, so I'm just gonna bet, apply pressure on him because I bet into 2 people, apply pressure on him because this guy is behind. And given that he checked and didn't see bet himself, he's gonna be overfolding very often, especially against like half pot size. And the small blind has a hard time calling, although it is a fish, so he might as well call. Again, the same fish. We do flop an ace, we're just gonna bet. I mean, I'm not gonna play coy and let's see that next blinds. I'm not gonna play a check range there and blah 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 blah. It's a fish, we'll just bet for value, we'll bet with all our hands as bluffs, blah blah blah. This hand seems a bit too weak to play against 2 people. Despite this guy being a fish, I think we just have too many reverse implied pot odds. 10-3, we're gonna fold. I think this guy is a regular, right? On the tight turns, yeah. Okay, so nice. So we got both of them. So the ace. Oh, I have to first close PokerStars, else we're gonna get issues. We had aces in the small blinds, so it's gonna be small blind versus button 3-bet. Where was it? They folded, so I think it is here. Yep, and the flop was King 9-3. Double rainbow. So let's find, it's this hand by the way. So let's find a similar hand on the flop. And see what solver says for King 9-3, King 9-8, King 9-4, but it's... Oh, King 9 deuce. We can do King 9 deuce. I think that's very similar. We're actually betting big and small. Aces prefer big bet, so it's this seems fine. We do have some small plays, but in general, aces want a big bet, so yeah. Where's my cursor? Here it is. We went for the bigger bet, which makes sense. Okay. For the session result, if you do want to know, we are somewhat break even. Not really the best result that we were hoping for. We kind of lost $1. I mean, the 4-bet pots basically cost me a lot. I think there's one here, one here. For the rest, it went fine, but it's just 2 4-bet pots, you know, that cost me money.